Hello, my name is Leah Bennis, and this presentation will assess the credibility and potential effectiveness of the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator as an intervention method. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator was developed in the 1920s by Catherine Briggs. She began her development of this assessment because of a boyfriend, Clarence Myers, that her daughter Isabel began dating and later married. At the time, Catherine found the boyfriend to be pleasant, but she also found that he had unusual personality traits. His unusual characteristics inspired her to go to the library and began her research on personalities. Through her research, she discovered Carl Jung's book, Psychological Types, and began work using his ideas. Her daughter Isabel took an interest to the work that Catherine was doing, and together they realized that an understanding of individual differences would be a valuable contribution to people. Utilizing the psychological instruments that would identify Jung's personality types, they created the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI. It's been said that people are different in fundamental ways even though they all have the same multitude of instincts or archetypes to drive them from within. The MBTI helps indicate those fundamental differences. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI, is the measure of personality traits. It indicates an individual's preference in four pairs of opposite preferences that indicate how an individual, one, gains their energy, making that person either an extrovert, who is someone that gains their energy based on the amount of time they spend with somebody, or they are introverts, who is someone who prefers to spend time alone. Two, perceives information. The person that leans towards sensing trusts facts, data, and personal experiences. They tend to need tangible proof of any information being given to them. The person that uses intuition goes with their gut instincts or hunches on the best possible outcome of things. Three, making decisions. The person who is the thinking type will base their decision on logic, policy, rules, and analysis, unlike the feeling type that will make their decisions based on how it will affect others. They are more likely to consider interpersonal relationships in their decision making. And lastly, the final pair is in regard to how an individual chooses to live their life. They can either be the type that likes things to be planned ahead of time and completed way before deadlines, making them the judging type, or they can be more lax and flexible with things, making them the perceiving type. One of the one of the preferences from each pair makes up someone's personality type, which is indicated by the four letters that refer to each preference. Using these letters, there are 16 possible personality traits a person can identify with. The MBTI is useful in self-understanding and lifelong development. It gives an explanation of an individual's decision-making process, perception of the world, and mechanisms of interacting with the outside world. It can be a tool used for team buildings, such as icebreakers, leadership and coaching, such as pairing an introverted person with someone who can encourage them to speak their ideas, or conflict management and career development. Using the MBTI can help establish trust by creating a friendly connection amongst team members and develop a culture of openness and trust. Lastly, it can be used to encourage the diversity of thought, innovation, experience, and creativity. There have been many studies that utilize the MBTI as an intervention method. The first study I will discuss was conducted by Lance Linden, titled Linking an Intervention Model to the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, Consultancy and Managerial Roles. His work was published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal called Journal of Managerial Psychology. He wanted to show the link between a specific intervention model called the Egan Consultancy Model with the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. The Egan Consultancy Model represents a strategy for helping people and organizations to address and deal with problems they face. This model divides the process into four stages and indicates the skills most appropriate at any given stage. The skills in this model are basic human communication skills that help people understand one another and to relate more effectively with each other. The four stages of this model parallel closely to the Myers-Briggs type preference, and he believed that the combination of the two approaches will help effectiveness in the workplace. He found that using the links between the MBTI to the models of the consultancy helped to focus on which groups of people an organization needed to pay more attention to in order to create better solutions to problems they were facing. It helped make better sense of the issues and individuals involved in the situation. The evidence of this research was based on a correlational study. In the next study, the authors published their work in a peer-reviewed academic journal called Journal of Management Education. Their study was designed to educate team members about the effects of individual differences among team members on team effectiveness. They used the five-factor model and the MBTI categories to ensure that student participants will understand the importance of personality differences and their impact on team effectiveness. It was important to the researchers that the students applied the topics they discussed in other group settings. Similarly to the MBTI categories, the five-factor model assessed normal personalities but used five dimensions. 1. Neuroticism, which refers to the tendency to experience negative affect. 2. Extroversion, which refers to the tendency to be assertive, social, active, and talkative. 3. Openness, that is characterized by curiosity, active imagination, and visual sensitivity. 4. Agreeableness, which refers to the tendency to be cooperative and altruistic. And 5. Conscientiousness, which refers to self-discipline, determination, and the will to achieve. To assess the effectiveness of this study, a written evaluation form was completed by the students. The evaluation indicated majority of the students felt the exercise was helpful to them while working in groups. Students were able to understand both their own and other members' behaviors, showing that the awareness of personality traits can help teamwork and prepare them to work with diverse personalities. The evidence of this research was based on a longitudinal study. My third slide is a large-scale study that views executive and workplace coaching. This article was published in a peer-reviewed scholarly journal named Consultant Psychology Journal, Practice and Research. The study collected data from 1,895 client and coach pairs from 34 countries and 92 organizational sponsors for a total of 3,882 matching surveys. The main purpose of the study was to examine the roles of the coach-coachee working alliance, personality, and self-efficacy in relation to coaching effectiveness. They believe that the strength of the coach-client relationship or the work alliance and the general self-efficacy would have an impact on the relationship of the pair. They used the MBTI profile of each pair as their null hypothesis because they felt past evidence suggested insignificant correlation between personality difference or personality matchings to have an impact on the coach-coachee dynamics. However, they wanted to explore the MBTI assessment because they realized that personality traits can have an impact and can have an important role in certain pairing of individuals. Lastly, they looked at mediation between the pair, acknowledging that the strength of the relationship set forth by the coach will influence the other's variables. In the end, they discovered that the strength of the working alliance and self-efficacy promotes positive effectiveness. They also seen the coaching working alliance mediates the effect of clients' general self-efficacy on the entire process. The MBTI usage in the study did not prove to be effective in the pairs, indicating that personality types and matchings do not strongly impact effectiveness and work alliance. The type of evidence this particular study provided was based on a large-scale study. Overall, the MBTI assessment appears in a lot of different studies to help identify a person's personality traits. Some of the benefits of this assessment that was observed in some of the research is how well it mirrors instruments and tools used in the corporate world. In the study of teaching teams to be teams, the students felt they benefited from understanding their personality traits. By having a better understanding of how they are and how they perceive things, they can be more equipped to enter the workforce with valuable knowledge about themselves. Another benefit is that since its inception, the MBTI has become a very popular and well known personality test that many people are familiar with. In the large scale study that viewed workplace coaching, the researchers set the usage of the MBTI as their null hypothesis, suggesting there would be no impact. However, they still wanted to use it because they were aware of how personality traits can have an important role in the pairing they were experimenting with. Unfortunately, the Myers-Briggs type indicator has been shown to not have prolific benefits in the usage of personality indications. For example, in the study of teaching teams to be teams, it was emphasized to the students that the MBTI test categories are preferences. This was done to prevent the self self-fulfilling prophecy tendency. Because MBTI is such a well-known indicator test, many people already have a general idea of what they should or would select out of the different categories. This would cause them to make excuses for their personalities. For example, a person that identifies as an introvert may say something like, I can't work in the team setting because it's not in my personality. I'm more of a loner. In this case, they are allowing that particular trait to become an excuse instead of using it to help them understand themselves better. In the large-scale study, they indicated that they were aware of the limitations of using self-reported MBTI results based on memory and were familiar with the many concerns other researchers has expressed regarding the MBTI. This specific limitation of the study shows that unless someone has recently taken the MBTI assessment, the results of themselves may be different than what they indicated in that particular study. And if they did not take the assessment, there is no indication of which, and if they did not take the assessment at that time, there is no indication of which version they had taken previously. Even in the teaching team study, participants had the option of taking a shorter version of the assessment test or providing results they already knew. There is no strong basis regarding how and when the MBTI is taken for an individual. Some other cons to the MBTI is that there is no middle ground within the categories. Not everyone will feel the need to be introverted all the time. For example, a person may be introverted during a business meeting and will only address the room when spoken to. However, the same person may be an extroverted person when they are with a group of friends in a more casual setting where they feel more relaxed and comfortable. The assessment also doesn't account for the external factors and or circumstances that are happening at the moment. There are many things that can impact a person's result as they are taking the MBTI, such as stress or anxiety. Also, people change over time. They simply adapt to different situations. A result or identifier someone may have had 10 years ago may now be completely different due to life changes or experiences. This slide shows all the different variations a person can identify with using the MBTI. I've taken the MBTI a few times in my life, and I found that each time I've taken it, I've had different results. Now, when I take it, I'm considered to be ESFP, an extroverted sensor, feeler, and perceiver. I find it interesting that at different points in my life, I was considered to have different personality traits. But this simply goes to show that different events that take place in your life can impact how your decision-making process, perception of the world, and interactions with others can alter your personality altogether. My recommendation of whether to use the MBTI as an intervention method would be simply to not use it. I don't believe it would benefit an organization or help resolve any issues an organization would be having. It's a great way to break the ice amongst people in a group setting that have never been around each other or has not worked together. It could help get them chatting about themselves or discuss why they believe their indicator describes them so perfectly, but to use it as a full intervention to help an organization overcome their issues and address serious concerns their employees are having, no, the MBTI would not stand alone in benefiting an organization. I believe it would need to be used in conjunction with another form of intervention method, but even then, there will be many limitations in the results and data that would have been collected. There are too many variables that can impact the MBTI results, such as stress and anxiety levels, life changes and experiences, taking a shorter version of the test, or rushing through the longer version of the test. There are other methods of interventions that would be better suited to handle organizational level concerns as opposed to the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Thank you for viewing my presentation. What's your Myers-Briggs type indicator?